There's nothing a man cannot do once he accepts the fact that there is no God.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Blood Splatter Chatter Live. This is the Blood Splatter Chatter kickoff to HORRORFEST 2023. We've already had two great shows. Dylan did Maniac on Saturday night, and I joined Robbie for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise review a couple days ago. They were great fun, and tonight, me and the panel are going to be discussing 2016's Don't Breathe. What up? What is going on? As I said, we're talking Don't Breathe, and we got the full crew in the house. Fable's here. We got Lynk in the building. We got Stu in the house. Everybody's looking good, feeling good. How you gentlemen doing?
Man, doing nice. Thanks for having me, bro.
Oh yeah, happy HORRORFEST, man.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, dude. There's been two great shows already. Again, go check out Dylan's show on Maniac. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise review. Not for the faint of heart, folks, but it was a blast. It was one of the funner streams that I've done in quite a long time. So definitely go check that out on Robbie's channel. Don't Breathe tonight. Is this the first viewing for anybody here, or has everybody seen this one before? Fable?
First viewing for me as well.
Really? Oh, this is very exciting then. Link, you've seen it? Perfect, dude. This is like an odd amount of movies that I'm realizing as I'm opening up. I'm like, dude, 2016's Don't Breathe. This is like the third movie that I've done from 2016 already, and I just started this show like 2 months ago. But looking through it, dude, it was a pretty good year for horror. There was like a little bit of a horror renaissance, and then a dip after that until maybe 2022, where we had another really good year. But a lot of good stuff in 2016. Split's the one that I could think of that I did. And then I think A Quiet Place was 2018. Maybe I'm messing that up. But this is like the third time that I've seen this. I watched it for the second time a couple months ago, and I'm like, that's what we're opening up HORRORFEST with. And partially is because this is such a stupid thing, but I'm like, oh, Robbie's doing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And it thematically ties in with that, because in Texas Chainsaw, we have these people going into some house that is not theirs, and the people inside this house are much more dangerous than they were led to believe in the first place, and the chaos ensues. So it might be a little bit of a weird stretch, but that's why we're doing it. Plus, it's just a fun, entertaining, easy movie that I figured we'd jump into.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, amen.
Hell yeah, dude. So this one is a Sam Raimi production from his production studio. Fede Álvarez was the director of Evil Dead 2013. It also has the girl, what's her name? Jane Levy, that starred in Evil Dead 2013. She's the lead in this. And this kind of reminded me in a weird way, like a lot of, obviously, Evil Dead 2013, but it reminded me a lot of Drag Me to Hell, and a lot of like the way it was written, just like the foreshadowing in the movie, kind of a lot of, I talked about it in that show, how you can see the mechanics of the storytelling. It's up front. It's just a lot of similarities in that regard. But he also did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the most recent one. Fede Álvarez, the director of this one and the writer, he wrote the latest Texas Chainsaw, which a lot of people might not be too stoked on. I just rewatched it. I actually did enjoy it a lot more than I originally did. But any of you guys fairly familiar with him? Link, I feel like you've mentioned you're a fan of his work before, right?
Because he did the 2013 Evil Dead.
Dead, yeah.
Was he? Yeah, I like him for that. I'll be honest, I haven't watched the Netflix Texas Chainsaw since I first saw it last year.
Right.
So I'll give I wasn't too keen on it back then, but
neither was I.
I want to blame, this script seems a little solid. Maybe it was just the directing, But I didn't know he was attached to this. To be honest, that kind of boosted up for me. I did not know that. I like his work though.
Yeah, the sequel that came out, I think, came out in 2021. He's a producer on, but he didn't direct that one, which I was kind of curious to see. I looked it up right after this. I haven't seen that one. Have any of you guys seen the sequel?
Yeah, I saw the sequel.
Is it worth watching, Link?
Weird. Yeah, it's weird because spoilers. He's not dead. Well, I mean, but it's weird how they, because of the turn of events in this movie, it's weird how the movie does a role reversal in a way. I won't say too much beyond that, but it was interesting how they pulled that off.
Nice, dude. That's pretty badass. That makes me curious. Let's before we go any further, just address the few fellas that popped in. I'm seeing Big Herm's big sexy ass up in here. Station to Big Herm, Rogue in the house, a double pew to my man Two Gun Pedro, Rogue Collecting. I believe I saw
what up?
as well. Larry
Happy
Moore.
HORRORFEST, fellas.
Hell yeah, dude. Stoked for you guys starting off the show with us, especially with Robbie doing his big weekly, monthly comic show.
Yeah.
I mess that up every time I've ever tried to say that. So, but
monthly comic book review. You got it.
Monthly comic book review show. That's what it is. Jane Levy
Schedules a comic book review show in the middle of his own festival.
I know. She does a great job in Evil Dead. I could see why he brought her into this role. This is Jane Levy, and this is our cast for this one, man. We open up the movie as we're going to dive into it with our little trio here, our little house robbers, little burglars. What do you guys think of the cast? We've got Jane Levy, I said, the main character. She has this daughter that she needs to get some money so she can take her daughter out of Detroit and get her to California. Let's actually start there. Lynk. When we watch Barbarian, you're like, this is bullshit the way that they're portraying Detroit in this movie. Now, if I remember correctly, when we watched Barbarian, they had mentioned that, like, oh, some of this that you see is Detroit, and some of it we went to like Eastern Europe to film because we wanted it to look like we want people to think Detroit looks, but they had a hard time finding that in Detroit. Same thing here. A lot of this movie set in Detroit, filmed in Hungary. And they're like, well, we had a hard time making it look as shitty as we wanted it to look. So, like, this is kind of something I'm curious about. Steph, you live in Detroit. How hard would it be to find an area that looked like this in Detroit? You know, just from what you've seen.
No, it wouldn't be extremely hard, but in Barbarian, bro, I could have sworn there was like a rusted car that might have been on fire. It's just sitting on the sidewalk. You know, that's a little. But like vacant houses in open fields, you'll find that here. They have cleaned up downtown Detroit a lot in the last 10 years or so. Like maybe 15, 20 years ago, that was a stereotype, and it could be true. You could find a lot of areas like that, but like the downtown metro area has become a nice little hot spot. Like they've done a lot of revamping old buildings and stuff. So it's just funny when you said that they couldn't find enough Detroit areas in Detroit, so they went to another country to find Detroit areas. You know,
right?
So
No, I know. Well, I felt like you were a little bit offended with the Barbarian. You're like, yeah, they're putting my city in a light that it doesn't really live in.
No, during that stream, specific people I will not name were kind of like, oh no, that's how it really is, and I'm like, I live here. What are you talking about?
Right. Well, shit, I might even have said that because everything that the media, this is why I brought it up, because everything that you see like from the media is going to tell you like, oh, it's dead. Detroit died years ago. Right. I mean, I have heard myself about a revival happening.
Batman vs Superman. Like the whole downtown battle, Batman vs Superman was filmed in downtown Detroit, you know, so that, you know,
I get my vision of Detroit from RoboCop. So yeah, I thought it was all.
I don't think that's healthy.
That's perfect. I got my vision of cops from RoboCop, so that's how we ended up doing
that. Nice. Good one. I thought when I saw this street, I was like, wait a minute, is this a real street somewhere? Because Barbarian, it looked like the same exact street. So I'm like, and then I started thinking, well, what is it about this street that inspires filmmakers? Like they keep coming over here.
Right. Well, I think it's it was the same thing. There was like a lot of photographers that were headed to Detroit, like especially when the economy was really going bad, when people were really leaving Detroit in droves. It was a hot spot to go because you couldn't, in this country, it was hard to find areas that looked that bad. So I think that's why these filmmakers, all these filmmakers want to flock to there. But it does seem like, especially in Barbarian, maybe they're getting there a little bit late, that they, that's why they're having to go out of the country to make it look the way that they want it to look. I just thought it was an interesting thing, and it is a little bit like kind of messed up. But I know Steph's a proud Detroiter, so I wanted to address that.
Yeah, I felt like they definitely wanted the urban blight to be like kind of another character in that movie. Like I remember that scene when he was one of those scenes when he was firing off multiple rounds or whatever. They pulled it back and you just saw the house just kind of sitting, and they were really trying to emphasize that nobody was going to be doing anything about the ruckus that was coming out of tonight's event. So I don't know.
Well, I think that's also it makes it a good place to put a horror film. And Detroit, correct me if I'm wrong, Steph, it's a huge city, not just in population, but in area. So you've got that much area. There's going to be some more spread outness. So you might get these areas where nobody can hear you scream type of a situation, which is what horror films are always looking for. Take them to that's why you go to camps. That's why you got Jason on a boat. That's why you got aliens on a spacecraft. Anywhere that you can go that you're separated from society, that's perfect for a horror movie, So it makes a shitload of sense. Speaking of the house and the way it looks from the outside, this is part of what I've read up on this is Fede Álvarez. He looked at what he did in 2013, Evil Dead. He looked at some of the criticism that he got, which he probably got more praise than he got criticism, I'm sure. But he wanted to kind of do the opposite of that. He wanted to make a horror movie that wasn't supernatural. He felt like a lot of what was coming out at this time, almost everything was supernatural. He wanted to go away from that. And he wanted to go away from more blood and guts. There's some of that in here. There's some shock value, which he wanted to get away from as well. But there's definitely some fucking shock value in this film. We can discuss what we think of that. But it's very different than Evil Dead. And I think better in certain ways. Evil Dead just has that, we've talked about a bunch of times, that coolness factor. It's fucking demons. It's Evil Dead. There's a chainsaw involved, the blood and guts. It's dope. But taking all that away, I think he made a pretty different movie that really was able to show off like who Fede Álvarez is, not just who the Evil Dead franchise is or what that franchise is, but something different. But
for sure. What's that? Okay. I saw in some interview he said he approached it like with the budget and everything he had, like he approached it with more of a mind frame that it was his first movie than like his second. And I think like it's got that kind of like artistic willfulness behind it. You know what I mean? Like he really wanted to make a statement, I feel like, more so than kind of piggybacking on a franchise. And I like the Evil Dead. Don't get me wrong, but
me too.
Yeah, I don't know. Felt like he really was trying to do something with this one.
Well, you could totally see it. It's a strange comparison, but I'm taking like Joe Hill. Joe Hill is the son of Stephen King. So he didn't come out as Joe King. I want to write my stuff. It's a similar thing when you make someone else's movie. He probably felt like he wasn't really getting the credit he deserved because most people weren't really thinking Fede Álvarez. They were thinking Evil Dead.
Right.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think of the cast that we have here? We've basically only got 4 characters that we're going through the whole time. Let's wait on the blind man, which is the only name that he's ever given. Dude doesn't have a name. In my notes, I'm not even realizing he doesn't have a name. I'm just writing dude. Dude does this. Dude bitch slaps dude. Shit like that. Evidently, he's just blind dude is the extent of his name. What did you guys
I did not think that.
Phable, we'll start with you. What do you think of the cast overall, brother?
I liked it, man. I liked it right off the bat. The kid, I don't know his name, the skinny kid.
Right.
He's been in a bunch of stuff, and he's pretty good.
Yeah, he was Wes in Scream 5, Scream 2022. He was the cop's son that gets killed. He gets it through the neck. Yeah.
Isn't he on that Netflix show too?
Yeah, the one where it's about suicide.
Reasons.
Yeah, 13. Yeah. He's like the star of that. Yeah, he's a pretty good actor, so I liked him. The guy who's I guess plays the douchebag, the dickhead of the group. I mean, he played a pretty good dickhead. I wanted to see him get got, and they didn't disappoint. And homegirl, she has that early '90s girl look, we were just seeing movies with her.
She could have played Andy Barclay's foster sister in Child's Play 2.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. She's got that look that like she's pretty, but like she's like emo-ish kind of.
An
I don't know.
edge.
I don't know what I'm saying, but you know what I'm. Edge.
No, I
yes,
feel you.
Yes,
She's got an edge
got
to her,
that-
yeah.
Yeah, it's got that '90s look. So I liked it. And Homeboy, I know you said don't say nothing about the blind man, but just real quick, you know what I'm saying? I always liked that guy. You know,
Yeah.
ever since I saw Avatar, I always liked that dude. So
Hell yeah. Stephen Lang.
Yeah,
Stephen
yeah.
Lang.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. No, I agree with everything. What about you, Steph? What's your thoughts on the cast?
Just solid all around. 13 Reasons Why kid. I personally always kind of before this was all before the Tom Holland thing, and it was in that small period before when Andrew Garfield was on the outs, but they hadn't chosen new Spider-Man yet. I thought he would kind of always kind of had that everyday dude vibe to him, so I thought he would have made it like a decent Peter Parker. But he was really solid in this. He's always pretty solid. The douchebag dude, I was just gonna say he kind of played like this pretentious, like trying to be a bad boy thing, but maybe that's what they were going for, because look what it got him. When push came to shove, he got quickly. Like it was all just an image.
Right.
Old girl was just super dope. She has like a young Sarah Connor vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she just, I can dig it. And I'll save Stephen Lang, but yeah, he's a badass. We'll get into that. But solid all around. I can always appreciate a movie as like when they don't have many characters. If it just focuses on like a small core, they really have to be good. To just have such a small cast, and I think they did that quite well with this.
Hell yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I love a movie that's got a small cast. You know what I mean? It's just easy. It's just simple. This has the one location for the most part. I guess there's a few more, but there's the one main location. Stu, before I send it to you, let me just I agree with everything that you guys have said about the dude. His name is Dylan Minnette, plays Alex. It's from left to right. It's Raoul. Rocky is the chick's name, and then Alex is his name. I think they all perform really well. I guess I don't even know if I don't know how I feel about this. Kind of my thing was Alex, the dude that we've been talking about. Doesn't he seem like he would never break into a fucking house? Like what we're saying, like he's got that Peter Parker vibe.
Yeah,
I think he does.
I definitely
good.
questioned it. Definitely questioned it. I'm like, how did this guy get mixed up with this stuff?
I kept waiting for.
Did any of you guys kind of pick up that they had said like, "My bad, Stu."
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh no, did you pick up that I guess his dad was like a police chief or something? That's how he was finding out about some of these houses.
No, his dad was the worked at that security company.
Yeah.
That's how he had all the codes for all the security alarms.
Yeah. So he was he in that group for that reason, because he had access to all that.
I think he just wanted her. I think he just wanted the girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
It happens like the whole time. That was like the dynamic that drove the majority of that movie and their relationship. Yeah, for sure.
Right. What did you think about him overall? Just the cast as a whole, Stu.
I agree with what Lynk and what you were saying. I like how it was tight. Like they could have introduced Homeboy's dad from the security company, but they didn't. And like them keeping that narrow focus really worked. I thought, Homegirl definitely had enough edge to be attractive, to give him a reason to be invested in her future and her well-being. I agree with Phable. Dude was such a douchebag. And watching him get smoked was one of the best parts of the movie. It was very cool how they displayed that shot. Like him getting shot, like him getting blown. That was sick. So, dude. And I've been a fan of Stephen Lang. Made quite the impression on me as a young kid when my dad took me to see Gettysburg in theaters.
Right.
I looked Paul Jackson, dude, and like he was like hell on earth in that role. Really good. Made quite the impression on me, like as a kid. So he's always been one of my favorites.
Hell yeah, dude. He was in Manhunter, which is not necessarily a prequel because it came out before, but it's part of the Silence of the Lambs universe. You could say it's the first movie that has Hannibal Lecter in it. He plays a reporter. He plays this little like douchey fucking reporter, dude. I was like, no way. I watched the whole movie. I didn't know it was Stephen Lang till Robbie said it on the live stream. I was like, get out of here.
He
I had to go
like a
Google.
little resurgence, I think, right? Like, because I don't know. He looked different when he got older than when he was younger. You know what I mean? He had a whole different look when he's older.
Yeah, he will fucking probably steroids or GHB or whatever. I ain't hating, but something. The dude is doing something.
The Empire transfusion.
Just to finish my thoughts on the cast, I guess I said that bit where I did struggle to believe that kid would ever be involved in the group. Like, you could have taken the douchebag character, like, just looking at him now, he could have played the role of the guy that just kind of got, it could have been someone a little bit more edgy looking in that role that could still make you feel for him, but it didn't stand out as like, what the fuck is this kid doing with these burglars? But I mean, that's a minor nitpick. His performance was clearly good enough that I could see why they put him in the role. Like, he's just, you're going to empathize for this kid in that situation. And you're also going to be like, oh, that blind guy is going to beat the shit out of him if he gets a hold of him. You know what I mean? Like, you could look at him like, yeah, he's not going to make it. Like, get him out of there.
It amps that threat level, bro. You know, like, okay, once that's gone, it's on. You know, like, you guys better pray.
Yeah. For all his idiocy, like what's his name? Money, homeboy who got smoked early on.
Yeah.
Like one of the things he did say that was spot on. He was like, you brought it when he was like, you brought a gun in here. He's like, we're walking into a soldier's house, man. Like, come on, like,
right.
Like, and I did think that was like kind of a naive thing to be asking that guy at that point in time.
Totally. He's a what do I got here? Yeah, and he's a we'll get to he's a crafty son of a bitch. He's not just going out and like choking the dogs out or doing anything. He's gassing the dog. He's using science, or he didn't study the manual perfectly because he didn't execute it perfectly, but he was trying to do some next level sneaky burglary type stuff. But so the story proceeds. They enter the house. Stu, as you said, they have trouble getting in. They end up busting out a gun. They're trying to get into the basement. The whole plot is there's $300,000 they believe in this dude's house that he got from a lawsuit because his daughter was killed by a drunk driver sometime in the past, I think, couple years. I might be wrong about the time frame on that, but I get the vibe it was semi recently. So they got wind of this. For some reason, they're convinced that the money is in the house. That's a bit of a weird stretch. Why would it be in the house? Why do they think that? I'm not sure. They get in. As I said, they gas the dog. They think they gassed the old man. Old boy shoots the lock off the basement where they think the money is. They turn around, and there's a lot of good editing in this movie where you never see him, like, just like when he's in the bed. You don't see him sit up in the bed. Dude just turns around. He's sitting up in bed. Sniffing him, you know what I mean? And here again, you just turn around and there's dude, and he gets in a bit of an altercation with him. And Stu, as you were alluding to, old man kind of gets the upper hand on him, and this happens.
Okay, I swear to God.
To me, that's the most memorable moment of the film. Like, when I hadn't seen this movie in years, and they're like, "Don't breathe." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that motherfucker and his lips flapping around, like, that was crazy." The way they shot this was insane. But Phable, just starting with you again, like, what do you think of? It doesn't have to be just that gunshot scene, but just them entering the house, even the camera movement, the way the camera is moving around as they enter the house, like this whole chunk of the film and this moment. What's your thoughts, brother?
I was very impressed by what you said, the camera movements. He moved the camera around the house in such a way where he was covering all three of their movements, but in a sort of continuous shot. It was edited, but it was sort of there, you know what I mean? Where he's trying to, and then he's like showing you all the things that'll come into play later on in the movie. Like, he's moving the thing under the bed. You see the gun tucked under the bed. He's moving over here. You see the lock. You see this, and he's zooming in on what they're going for, and then coming back. And when I'm seeing all of this, first of all, I appreciate any director that tries something. You know what I mean? That does something. So that right there, I love. And then I saw the influence of Sam Raimi in that scene. It is a very evolutionized, like, that's the wrong word, but you know, it's an evolution of Raimi's camera work. You know, if you look at Raimi's Evil Deads and Raimi's Drag Me to Hell, he moves the cameras in certain ways, and you can tell that this is a more sophisticated, more 2000 whatever year it was it came out version of it. So I was very impressed by this scene. And man, I say this about horror all the time. if you know what you're doing, you can make anything scary.
Right.
A blind man, come on.
Yeah.
And you know what? I believe it.
Yo, because
I believe it.
Right.
when he first goes up at the door, like he nailed his that little croak. He's like, "Who's there?" Like that shit. Like when he first
if you
even
know
called
what
out,
you're doing,
Irving,
and
man.
all the old directors, that's what they did. They took something, common things, household items sometimes, and said, "Oh, the drain, don't go down the drain." You know what I mean? And I feel like this is the 2016. This is a natural evolution of what they were doing in the 80s. You know, but with just that shine, man, that experience.
Hell yeah, dude. And this is one of the, like, I've listened to a lot of horror podcasts, and I hear so many people say it's very Hitchcockian. It's Hitchcockian. And this is that. I'm not gonna sit and pretend that I've watched a bunch of Hitchcock movies. I haven't. I've seen like 3 of them, but I get what they're talking about, where it's the way that the camera is moving without words to show you what the people are going to be dealing with in the future. So that's one thing I had Steph and Phable, I talked to you guys that we'd maybe get into, is the way that they use foreshadowing in this movie specifically. And I'm glad you brought it up here, Phable, is in this bit. They're going around, they're showing us all these different things. And it's one, like I've heard people like doing reviews and they've said like, oh, a lot of obvious foreshadowing. And I'm never really sure, like what's good foreshadowing, what's bad foreshadowing. When is it too obvious? Because I would say all this foreshadowing was fairly obvious, but I don't know that that is a bad thing. That's what foreshadowing is. You're supposed to see like, oh, there's some kind of threat to the people. Oh, there's a hammer there. They're zooming in on that bitch. Someone's getting whacked later, like things like that. So it just really stood out to me like that there was a lot of it and that it was maybe obvious, but it's like, you know, I'm not going to sit and pretend that I know, like, oh, that was too, I don't know. Like, no, I'm never really sure what's good and what's bad when it comes to that specific, like, foreshadowing.
Sometimes I thought they used it well, like the foreshadowing when Money came in, like he put the gas in the room and it came out, and like I guess a little too soon after he shot the lock off, but right before he did, they were talking about the gun, and he's like, "Of course, I never used this thing before." And I remember when seeing Stephen Lang show up, like right after, I was like, I wonder if he heard him say that he had never heard, like he never used the gun. Because like you could sense, I guess you could sense in that standoff between him pretty immediately, Stephen Lang could figure out that guy really didn't, he didn't have the heart to pull that trigger, and that he was going to test him and push him. So I thought in that way, like, you know, that little bit of foreshadowing, like he hadn't used the gun, you know, and then he gets put in a situation where, you know, what's he going to do? I thought that was pretty cool, but I don't know. I thought overall it wasn't a negative to the movie.
Right. Well, I kind of look at it like there's certain movies that you don't want to spend, like you could make the complaint earlier when she goes and she talks to her daughter, and their daughter's not the greatest actor. I'll forgive her for that, but she's like, it's pretty obvious that they're setting up, okay, now she needs this money to get to California. It's not super well done. That could have been better, but in a movie like this, that's pretty much a popcorn movie. Like, how much time do you want to spend on subtlety? I think you kind of can just fast forward a lot of the subtlety, be on the nose in a movie like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We don't really have to say much. It's all about what's going to go down in this house. You know what I mean? How we get there. I mean, we've seen a lot worse. We can forgive this totally. Like, this is good.
Right. That's the way I look at it. Like, I don't want this to be an hour and 45-minute movie. I don't even want it to be an hour and 37-minute movie. Just, you know, don't spend any extra time on this movie in that. Link, what did you think just overall and what we're talking about? And then that scene where, oh boy gets it.
I will say Fede Álvarez is good at tense moments, because there's a lot of that in his version of Evil Dead and plenty of that in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He had a way of making the house feel like you're going down corridor of mazes and stuff like that, you know. Very claustrophobic. Like he was very good at those shots where it's like an object up close, but in the background you see like, you know, someone's
Right.
like against the edge, but you see old dude in the background. Like he's masterful at those shots.
You know, one of those that he did that comes up later on in the movie that was a kind of a spin on that. When what's his name? When Alex is on the window, when he falls down, he's on the cracked window above his head. Blind man is underneath him, and you're seeing it's from the perspective of the antagonist, and the protagonist is the one in the background. And it's kind of like, but he's asleep. So if he falls through that window, he's gonna run into the antagonist. It was just a really interesting like twist on that. When I'll say it all the time, it's Michael Myers popping up in the background, but it was a way to flip that on its head in a really interesting way, I thought.
And didn't he get like from under him to above him, like almost superhumanly fast? Wasn't he like under, he was like looking for him under him, and then the next thing you know, like he's above him pointing the gun down and about to shoot that. It was crazy. Like his ability to almost like teleport from one, like, the way his ability to move about that house was scary.
In the special features, they talked about like him, like time going forward sometimes when the audience wasn't necessarily aware of it, or just like little things that they knew that he was doing. Like at one point he goes and he gets the dog and he puts the dog in the house from where he was or whatever. And they're like, there's little things that the blind man is doing throughout the movie that are really smart that they never talk about. But if you're really paying attention, you'll fully realize how clever he's being throughout the movie. Yeah. But where were you going, Lynk? I kind of cut you off.
Oh no, sorry. I was just gonna say he was kind of like Macaulay Culkin at Home Alone mixed with MacGyver when it came to like.
That's awesome.
But no, they just super tense shots, and you know, like you said, there was shots where they would subvert or flip the shit on its head to what it was previously in the movie, and you know, if this was like you said earlier, Fede Álvarez wanted to make this like a mission statement of who he was as a filmmaker. I totally feel that, like the tense, bro. He's very tense director. I'm just gonna keep saying that. He has those even in The Evil Dead 2013, he had stuff that made you feel super claustrophobic. You're like, oh God, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in this movie, and it fits, you know. I like that you didn't go supernatural. It was just kind of like so. It's like if you don't watch the trailer for this movie, it's kind of like there's many things in this that flip on its head many times. Yeah. At first, you might think like, oh no, I feel sorry for the blind dude. These teens are gonna go rob him, gonna cause havoc and mayhem. But then it's like you find out he's not just some blind dude. You know, he's very capable, and then it kind of flips its head on that.
Like he gets more and more scary as the film goes on. From his intro, like you know, as soon as he takes down the first guy, you know it's on. But like especially after. Well, I don't want to get too far ahead, but we'll get there. But
well, I mean, that's one thing that's really smart about the writing is the more that you learn about him, the scarier he gets. But like where your loyalties lie keep changing. Like at this point, he's a blind vet, and the only thing we've seen him do is walk his dog down the road. We have no issues with this guy. Right. So the people that are perspective characters are the ones that we have issue with, but even they're clearly not
I don't know, man. I don't know, man, because he looking like he bench pressing about 350, and when he stands up and stuff, I'm like, I don't know, dude.
Bruno, pull that picture back up of when we first see him in the Mexican standoff. Like he looks diesel as hell, and when we first see him, bro is no joke right there.
What's interesting is what they do right here. Like if you know, like when he comes out, he's like, "Who's that?" Like he sounds like this weak, feeble, frightened man. But also, what's going on? We know, and we'll get into it in a few minutes. We know what's in the fucking basement. He knows what's in the basement. He doesn't know if they know what's in the basement. So at this point, he's like, what? He doesn't know what the fuck is going on. It's a lot, especially on a rewatch. You kind of fully appreciate this scene. You're like, oh, there's a lot of dynamics. When he's using his foot and he's feeling like the floor is like, oh, there's the lock that was busted off the door to the basement. He knows what's in the basement. He's like, these motherfuckers are here for her. or you know what I mean? There's a lot going on that he doesn't know, which is why when he does what he does and he kills him, well, actually at that point, I think he had announced that we fucking know what you've got here and we're here for it. And that's probably why he's like, fuck it, you just got to die. I'm just going to end this. But all right. So as we've said, we've got some action going down in the basement. What we have after this, clearly, old boy gets shot. The other two, they're just being quiet. That's why you get the cover of this where she's just covering her mouth, hence don't breathe. And so there's a little bit of really high suspense moments. There's a bit where the phone goes off and he shoots at it. That was great. There's a moment where the floor creaks and he's just waving around, pointing the gun at people. Steph, as you said, like very butt puckering suspense. You didn't mention the butt puckering, but it was implied. You implied butt puckering. And
my butt was fully puckered, man.
Fully, it still is.
What the hell's going on here?
So there's a moment where they make their way down to the basement. These two characters get back together. They make their way down to the basement, and then the twist of the movie. So at this point, you're like, as an audience member, you're like, what is going on? There's total shock to me. I forget who said that this was their first time watch. Phable, you were one of them, right? Your thought, my brother. Like, just what did you think of the twist of this movie? Where did you sit and have that look on your face that she has there?
Oh nah, man! I knew he was hiding something down there.
You did, really?
Yeah, man. Like I told you, he was too diesel, man. He was too brolic. And I was like, this guy is no joke. Like, there's something up with this dude. Now, I didn't know it was going to be who it ended up being, but I thought I was going to see some bodies down there for sure. I was like, oh, this is when we catch the bodies. They're down in the basement. But it ended up being a better twist than where I probably was going with it. You know what I mean? I like this twist a lot better.
Right. Oh, me too, man. It took me by total surprise. Like when I first saw it, I wasn't ready for it. You know what I mean? I thought it was pretty damn cool what they did with it. Steph, what do you think about the twist, brother?
My bad. It honestly, thinking back on it, I'll say it did catch me by surprise because I knew I knew from the trailer that it was going to be like a cat and mouse thing, but I didn't know he was, like I was saying earlier, there's like layers to it where it's like first you think they're robbing an old man, you feel sorry for him, then it turns out it's like a cat mouse game, then it turns out there's this chick there, so it becomes this whole search and rescue, and it kind of shocked me. This is the foreshadowing you were mentioning earlier. This is a good example of that because they mentioned the whole car accident.
Right.
He got paid off by a rich family. And then when we enter his house, we see that it's all souped up. So the man's got money. I think it was well done. It shocked me. I knew there was something coming, but I can't say that it was like the chick. Like Phable said he had an idea. Something wasn't right with him, but I didn't see the reveal of this chick being locked up in his basement.
Right. I feel like if I can remember my first time watching it, which I fucking really can't, but I feel like I was just so engaged in the story and the suspense was so strong that I wasn't even sitting there. When a movie's like this, a good popcorn movie, I'm not the type that's sitting there trying to predict what's going to happen. It's not like this is a mystery where I'm looking for clues and stuff. I'm just sitting there like, oh, the motherfucker's jacked. He's going to get him. You know what I mean? So I didn't expect any kind of twist in a movie like this.
He was jacked. His eyes look crazy.
Oh my
God. They
God.
kept zooming in on his messed up eyes.
Dude.
And I'm like, this guy's not all coach. His house was kind of dirty too. It was kind of disheveled and stuff. I'm like, something's up with this guy. But it was a lot more disturbing. And we'll get to that, I guess.
Right. Little fun fact, the contacts that he was wearing in his eyes to make him look like that, to make him look like he was blind, they were purposefully like thickened to diminish his sight by 70%. So pretty much while he's acting, he really can't see. And he said he was just zoning out that 70%. He was basically played this as a blind man. He spent a lot of time in the house, really getting intimate with it. But what about you, Stu? You said this was a first time watch for you. Did you see something coming?
Like Phable said, crazy white dude. Knew he had something down in the basement, but no, I didn't see that coming. You know, I didn't see the twist with the you know, with the daughter and all that. I thought it was really well done how they lit that, and how it was like, it wasn't like, you know, some decrepit like corner of the basement, like it was lit with all those like padding, and it just had it like they gave it this nasty weirdo like den of you know, incest and inequity and all sorts of it was, I don't know, I like how like it had that, you know, House of Pleasure gone wrong feel about it. And I don't know, yeah, it completely took me by surprise. I loved how like they were gonna leave her there, but then like, you know, she walked back, and that felt like a very believable moment to me. But yeah, that was wild as hell, man.
It was a nice moment, and you're just kind of making me think this, when she's like, we've got to save her. I don't give a fuck what she did. We're not leaving her without her. These are our prospective characters, and all we've seen them do is do some pretty heinous shit so far. So it was something to really help align us with the characters that we were supposed to be aligned with in the first place. But right after this was my issue the last time I watched it. It wasn't my issue this time. Right after, within like a couple minutes of us finding out that there is a woman in the basement, he pops open the cellar door. He starts just fucking blind firing his ear off almost, just a little piece of it, and then kills her. That is like, oh shit, that's intense. And then his reaction to that is
right. Weird.
He realizes who he killed. He gets really tender and emotional and upset about it. You're like, so you know, at this point, if you're piecing it together, she even says it. She's like, the main character is like, oh, she's the one that killed her daughter. And she's like, oh, I fucking killed her. So it's like, we know the dynamic, but we don't fully understand. And what we're going to find out is that she's pregnant with blind dude's baby. She got a blind baby in her stomach. And now it's dead. So it's crazy. So I really appreciated that. But I will say, when I watched it a few months back, I was like, man, they do the plot twist and then you just waste it. I didn't think much of it, but like, I didn't fully appreciate it. What do you guys just think of that? The idea of just taking her out and just that scene and the complicated relationship that clearly he had with the hostage and all that shit. Stu, let me start with you this time, brother.
I don't know. I love how they communicated so much with that groan he gave when he found her dead, and like realized, like you heard that groan, he was like, no, and you're just like, oh, you got that sickening feeling. You're like, man, what was like really the nature of their relationship?
Right.
Yeah, what was going on?
That was like, yeah, really unsettling to me. And then like, I love how it kind of goes into another chapter hereafter when he shuts the lights off and, you know, starts to really like hunt them down there. That, you know, it goes on, you know, full on like rage attack. But yeah, I thought it was really, really, you knew something was going to be there when they opened up the door, but just a wild turn of events. And yeah, just to discover like another, yet like we were talking about earlier, yet another like chink in this guy's armor, just so to speak, like just like another reason why this guy is not who you thought he was, and what's really going on here. And yeah, very well done though.
Hell yeah, dude. Link, you got anything to add to the situation down there before we move on, or Phable, either one?
Yeah. Speaking of the scene when he shoots the girl and realizes it, and he's like groaning, he's like, my baby. Yeah. Before you get to the end of the movie, you can take it as, yeah, he kidnapped that girl and was doing messed up thing. It's kidnapping to begin with, very heinous and foul. But then it's like what he tries to do I don't want to jump ahead too far, but when he tries to do a certain thing to our heroine towards the end of the film, you're like, so there's like a double wordplay when he said my baby. It's like, not only did he probably have feelings for that girl, he had impregnated her. So it's like two meanings when he said my baby. You know,
to be honest,
you don't find that out until you get to.
I never picked up. This is news to me right now that he even says my baby. I never heard him say that. That's interesting to me. I didn't pick that up.
One other question.
Imagine it.
How is dude not number one suspect in her kidnapping? Like, how have they not like raped his? While he gets like cars are parked outside his house, like waiting there, like seeing what he's buying at the grocery store, so on and so forth. I don't know. That's crazy.
That is kind of, it makes me think, how the fuck did this blind guy kidnap someone? That must have been tricky, dude. How fucking stupid is this woman? What is she deaf?
Dude.
No, that was wrong.
Now
But that's interesting.
He paid people to kidnap this girl for him, and then got rid of them.
Damn.
He obviously see he's a weird.
Yeah, the way he got rid of her
Makes
was it definitely feel like he's got other people down there on that floor. Like the way he got rid of her was like so systematic and crazy. Like I don't know.
Right. No, that was weird.
And you see how
what did he do? What
I
was that? Was he like putting her in concrete, or was he dissolving the body? There was something like you're right, Stu. I never thought about you said this. It looked like he had done that a bunch of times. Like that was a thing he had set up.
Like he had like sections of his floor that were built explicitly for that. Like, it was crazy. I don't know. It looked way too like way too part of a regular routine for my man. It looked like he was systematic. It looked like he was clothes in the laundry, bro. Like it was wild. I was like, damn.
He's like, I cook some eggs, I do a little laundry, I dispose of a body.
When he cleans up money, or he starts to clean up money, you see how concise and quick he is about it, before they make a noise and distract him. But you see, he's like, it's not new to him. This is something he's done before.
Right.
Hell yeah. Phable, you have something to add, my brother? Brother Phable, as I like to say.
I mean, when Shorty got shot in the side of the face, that was crazy. The way they made that look, I mean, she just gave him the look like, I'm dying here. Like, I'm about to die. And the sequence that followed was, again, very impressive, just like the sequence of him going around the house, filming the burglars. Again, he did it again with the dark sequence, man. I don't think I've ever seen that tone in movies, like that specific black and white. Like
here, let's get a quick look at it right here, because this to me, legit. Y'all know we all watch a lot of fucking scary movies. I'm watching a lot of these things. This like kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, oh my fuck. Just that look in that dude's face and that lighting. There's something about that. It's kind of funny when we watched The Descent, when they went to their scary scene, like the first really scary movie or scary scene of that movie. Same thing. They went to like a camera that looked like that with that kind of lighting. It just, I don't know. To me, that's one of the more gnarly images, not just from this film, but from a lot of films that I can think of that I've watched. That's a scary ass image.
Yeah, just the way it sets off, where he just grabs the handle and then it goes black, and then we're in this gray, very gray thing, and then the gunshots lighting up the room. The way that was going on, I don't think I've ever seen it. So props to Fede for giving me a new visual. That was awesome.
Hell yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. That was one thing in the special or in the commentary that I watched today. It was really good commentary. It's got Fede Álvarez, and then the person that he co-wrote it with, and Stephen Lang, did the commentary. Really, really good. But he talked about that as being something he was really proud of, is that the pops of color when the gunshot goes off.
Yeah.
He's like, it's just
really
something he thought was really cool. Yeah, it is, man. It's not, I've never seen it before.
Yeah, and it's almost like, now you're blind, bitches.
Right.
Yeah.
Just that. That's just a smart idea in the first place. You shut the lights off, and now I was about to say we're on the same page, but we're not. He knows that fucking basement like the back of his butthole, and they've never been in there. So
and he had his cues too, because he was tapping walls. He was like running his hand through things, and to understand where exactly his position was in the basement. If you notice, he was smacking the ceiling. You know what I mean, just to figure out where he was.
I couldn't agree more, brother. Let's I'm trying to debate whether to go. I got a few more slides here, but I don't know how much we want to get into this. Well, actually I do, because what happens in this scene, I'm fucking stupid. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm more than willing to admit it. I'll miss some shit. Okay, we've got these two fighting. I thought this was a pretty cool scene. They're in like a laundry room. I don't know if this is the laundry room, but wherever they're fighting in, he ends up Old man gets the advantage. 13 Reasons to Die kid is on the ground. Boy goes full cropsy like he's doing a Burning sequel. And he's got some hedge trimmers, and it looks like he stabs him in the chest. He walks away, leaves him for dead, and clearly we're going to find out later that he's not dead. I'm stupid. The whole time, I thought that like blind guy had just knocked him out and that he purposefully didn't stab him and he like saved him. And then he'd let him come back later on. I'm like, well, that's a huge plot hole. I didn't realize. I'm like, duh, he's blind. Like, you help me clear this up. What happened here? Was that Money's body that he stabbed?
Yeah.
He was in there. Okay. He was under Money's body. That's who got stabbed. Blind man thought that he killed this guy, left him dead. And that's why he's able to come back and be the Millennium Falcon later on, which is what I always think of when I think about, oh, it's that character that you forgot. Even though, and this, I'll just tell you guys this, and we're going to get to the scene in a few minutes. You see this a little bit later where he gets up and he picks up this hammer deal. It's all like in slow motion. He's like, I'm going to go fucking hammer this blind guy. And I still forget about him. When he shows up and saves the day, I'm like, oh shit. But that's just because I'm stupid, man. Like I shouldn't have, but I still was like, oh man, I forgot about that guy. But what do you guys think about just this fight scene? If you got anything to add between here and what happens before we get into this old man's jism later on, what do you think about any of the suspense involving? We've got the dog going through the tunnels. We've got a lot of bits here going on. Phable, what do you think?
I think all the physicality is very well done. It's realistic and grounded. The way he decked out 13 Reasons, he punched him within an inch of his life. It doesn't take 50 punches like in some movies where they're just going hammer. It really takes good, like 3-4 solid punches. You kill somebody. You know what I'm saying?
And he's always like grabbing their neck. You can see he's always like hearing them to know where they're at. Like,
right. Yeah, and just him tossing old girl around the house, tossing these kids around the house, just throwing them into furniture. The stunt people, I don't know if these kids did it, the stunt people, whatever. Physicality in this movie is top notch. I always like grounded fight scenes like this.
Oh yeah, dude. No, I agree, man.
Brutal.
A lot of this was definitely just these two. Obviously, you can't fake that. But there was some bumps and bruises after this. There was some accidental punches in the face, and they talked about it in the commentary that this is a very brutal scene. That it hurt afterwards. Like they're doing shit, and Stephen Lang's like, that hurt. Oh, I remember that. That hurt. But
and 13 Reasons Why I pulled it off great when he got up from everything finally. He was like, like you almost died, bro.
Yeah, bro looked like he went through it. For sure.
What about you, Steph? You got any thoughts on this chunk of the movie that leads up to the finale?
I thought it was great. I like I said, there's like just layer after layer with this movie. Like it inverts tropes. Like you think he's done, but he comes back. But can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry, I was frozen. Sorry. But he comes back, but it's like the reveal of that is plausible because, like we said, he's a blind dude. But but we've seen the blind dude pay attention to subtleties in this movie. But at the time when he just does this, he's still got to go back and check on the chick. Like he's still looking for a heroine. So it's like everything that happens, even though it's like tropes we've seen in movies before, it's plausible in this movie, like in the reality they've created. And they go further a little back that I like the night vision scene. You know, when he reaches his arm through there and he's struggling, it's super tense. It's already scary because subconsciously we know when we see night vision that everything is dark. So we know that everyone's fighting in the dark. So I can only imagine, like, you know, he's hiding through by a bookshelf and a hand reaches through and he's like choking him. He's like rocking the bookcase and like pushes it back. But no, he did job well done to both actors. It seems like they would have gotten bruised up filming something like this, you know, and job well done. They did a great job.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I could not agree more. What about you, Stu?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I second what the guy said. I thought, just to talk about that, like that gave me Blair Witch vibes, that darkness scene, the way it kind of captured that fear of the unknown. I thought that was just so well done. And the actors and their faces, that girl particularly has a great, like, super horrified face.
Totally.
She really
She's great
does.
for the genre, man.
Yeah, dude. Just great. I agree. But yeah, I agree with Phable, man. I thought the fights were grounded and real and physical. I felt it really felt like a fight between a punk ass kid and an old veteran who, you know, definitely knows what he's doing, but is also, you know, fallible. That you can crash a glass vase or whatever over his head and still get your chances. Like homeboy had his chances in that fight. It wasn't all one sided. So it definitely felt real and believable in that way. So yeah, man. But I didn't necessarily completely forget about him, but I definitely didn't catch. And I guess they wanted it to be that way, but I definitely didn't catch the fact that he would have been close enough to Money's body to catch the shears, or you know, shield himself and underneath. You know, I knew Money was back there somewhere, but I don't know. That was a cool little like way to set it up for later. I thought. Yeah.
Hell yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. You know what I always think of, and I wonder if you guys would agree. When I think about grounded action fight scenes, like I'm sure I'm not the fucking first one to say this, but the Bourne Identity, like it changed the way that fights are done in movies. Like they came out with those style fights, those grounded, gritty, camera shaking around like it's part of the fight and shit. It's like everything after that, not everything, but every time I see a movie that came out after that, it's like better tip your hat to old Matt Damon getting his ass whooped and whooping the shit out of people. Because yeah, it really did change things. But I think I'm out of slides that are useful to get to, and I have no videos because I'm not really sure if I wanted to put up the video of this dude fucking choking on this cum. But basically, what it boils down to, we get our main character. The blind man thinks that 13 Reasons is dead, which I'm glad that us and everybody in the chat has just decided to call old boy 13 Reasons. I like that. It's funny. In my notes, I had him as Wes and her as Mia, because Mia from Evil Dead and Wes from Scream. So that's easier to keep track of. Those are movies I remember more. But anyway, we find out this dude's plan. He is upset because his baby was killed earlier. His hostage, pregnant with his baby, now dead. So in that scene where he's being so tender, this is the second time that basically he's lost a child. He lost a child and whatever his relationship was to that hostage, which seemed like it was something. You know what I mean? There was something there. So now he has our main character. It's funny. He doesn't know if she's ovulating or not. I don't know if they had this discussion, but he decides he's going to string her up. We get some wicked, crazy visuals of a jar of cum with some hair in it. I like that.
That was so nasty.
My fiance is
they did this.
I love it.
They
She
did
acts like she
slow
just
mo of the baser too. It's like chill out, yo.
with the drip.
Yeah, but dripping off the baser, it's like all right.
That's why when Fede Álvarez was like, I wanted to back away from the shock. I'm like, did you need the dripping cum? I think that was shocking.
Yeah,
but my fiance, I love it. She's acting like it was like a bit of the movie, a bit of the mystery that she had figured out. She's like, oh, the hair is in the cum because he's blind. He doesn't know that it's in there. I'm like, oh, okay. You cracked the code, baby. But she's right. She's right. But I hadn't really thought of it that deep. But anyway, what his plan is now, he's going to artificially inseminate our heroine. And before he can, we see some nasty shit, as we've been saying, some nasty dripping bodily fluids. He's just about to do it. He takes some scissors. He snips her little yoga pants, which is just fucking gnarly. He's got to have some confidence for a blind man to be that close to a crotch with some scissors.
He heats it up on his like Bunsen burner from 1935.
As we said, right before it's about to go down, and again, just the look on Jane Levy's face, even the angles that they're showing her face, like I really like what they did here. She sells it so fucking well. Oh, I like it. Larry Moore, what is he saying? Yeah, he says this. I'm not a rapist. I'm not a rapist. Which it got me thinking about this era. This is the era, right? This is the Me Too era, which we talked about a few weeks ago. I don't think they were trying to make a Me Too message, but it's funny that what was in the air at the time is society, or at least certain sects of society, redefining what rape was at the time. That was when Matt Damon, to bring him up again, that was fucking weird, when he said, I think there's a difference between rape and a pat on the butt. And people were like, Matt Damon, you must be a fucking rapist. And he was like, whoa, I'm never talking again. That to me, that's always stood out to me. That's a moment in time right there. When Matt Damon said, I just better shut the fuck up. That should have been a sign to everybody like, oh, we're in a lot of trouble. Matt Damon can't speak his mind anymore, then can we? But maybe we don't need to get too deep into that. But to me, it gave the idea of like, he's saying he's not raping her, but he is. I think we would all agree, like, that's fucking rape. Just because part of you didn't go in part of her, you put something in this woman's body. Like, you just raped this woman. And you could draw that line up the aisle, like what you want to call rape is up.
I don't think so, dude. I think you just said it straightforward. You violated her body. Period. Done.
Yeah. The understatement of the year was him going, 9 months of your life and I'll give you your life back. Okay. Right.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, what I'm saying is for each person, like you just said, violating your body is rape. Does that mean a pat on the butt? I'm not asking you to give me your definition of rape, but if you want to, go ahead. But what I'm saying is, for up until that era, there was one definition of that word, and now there's multiple definitions. You know what I mean? So it's I think it shifted in that era, and it's still shifting right now. But to get to where we're at, though, Wes shows up as we've alluded to, whacks old boy over the head with a hammer. And then this is the bit that I didn't want to put on the stream, but I'll explain it in great detail. Jane Levy reaches over. She grabs this turkey baster full of male semen, blind male semen. She shoves it down blind dude's mouth. And it's just like, it goes, it's weird. Like, he had to have gagged on that. It doesn't just go a little bit down there. Like, she shoves it down his throat.
That shit.
Bruh, yeah.
I don't think that was CGI. Like,
no, that felt like too real. Like,
he spit it up.
Vomited that.
Yeah, some of it's coming out of his nose and shit. Like, it was fucking gnarly. He's still probably tasting that shit. Yeah. So, like, I guess let's talk about this. If Phable, I'll start with you. Like, what do you like? This is shock value. This is like, let's put a shocking scene in there. To me, this is reminiscent of some of the shocking scenes that we got in Drag Me to Hell, where it's that same. It's not. It's gross, but it's not gross and like ew. It's gross. We're like ew. Where there's a laugh to the grossness. You know what I mean? I feel like that's Sam Raimi's style. But what do you think of this, brother?
Exactly what you just said. you just said it.
Did I ask you the question and then answer it?
No, I said it a little earlier with the evolution of a Raimi style. This is another one of those. Like, it's over the top, but just not that over the top. But it gives you everything you want if you're that kind of fan of horror, right? Like, it gives you the absurdity of that. Like, it's so absurd. He's got none of his own nut in his own nut, hair in it.
With that hair.
That's so disgusting, right? But, like, again, if you know what you're doing, I mean, it's just a turkey baster with white cream in it. I mean, really, it's not that freaking disgusting or scary. But the way Fede's doing it, it's like, oh, what is he gonna do with that baster? Like, oh no, you know what I mean? Lynk said it earlier, the master of tense, and Fede's really good at it, man.
Oh yeah, man. Lynk, what about you, brother? What do you think of the baster scene as it's become known?
It was gross, bro. I don't, it's gross, but just the texture of it, and then I like how she hits him with the one-liner right after she does it. She hits him with the quip. I forget what she says, but she gets him with a zinger, and she's just like, "Go, girl, tell him, keep talking all that shit right before this," So, but no, it was like you said, it was gross, but not something that's gnarly. It was gross for, like you said, and ew type of reason. Like, that's so messed up, but you can get a laugh out of it. It's not something horrific, but it's definitely fucked up.
Hell yeah.
Well
what
done,
about you, Stu?
I love the way they communicated the horror of the situation when, like, he put her up in the air and she was just like, there was those like 5-10 seconds where she was just kicking and screaming bloody murder, and you're like, damn, this is dark as hell. Like, how they really let it kind of sink in through that. But yeah, man, I thought what Phable said, like the way he shot the moments, like when it all changed and you saw the blood spatter, and like when Wes showed back up, and like I love that scene where she doesn't really know what's going up, but like the the thing releases and she drops back down onto the bed.
It's like slow motion kind of thing.
Yeah, like how it kind of like carried the emotion of like the scene with it, like, oh, something's changed here. I don't know. I thought it was really well done. Really like a wild ass climax to the movie, but like Link said, we still got our self-righteous like scene where she got a little redemption. But dude, they should have finished the job, man. I mean, I know we're about to get to it, but finish the job. Like
They're not
finish the job and
murderers,
burn the
bro.
Yeah.
Dude,
What up, Six Deuce? Hell yeah.
Oh, but this is chiming in with what Stu was saying about that scene. I like the hopelessness there was, kind of because she's kicking and screaming, but at one point she's just kind of in shock and kind of giving up, hopelessness. Like there's nothing left she can do, and she's just kind of sitting there. And then that slow motion where you see that little faint blood splatter, and it kind of wakes her up. Like it's a cool scene.
It was great, dude. There's
a lot of that, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many like just well directed, well edited, just good decisions in this movie on all sides. Cameraman, really director, editing, sound design. It's a beautiful sounding movie.
Yeah, we didn't even get there with the high pitch. It's almost like an anti-sound. It's noise canceling. How do you use noise canceling as a soundtrack? Like,
right.
It's great.
Supposedly, like the dude that did the sound design, he like invented instruments. There's a lot of like pipes and just like he's like making his own shit. Sounds like a hippie, and I think I like him. But
that's awesome. Yeah, that sounds really cool. Those are the type of people you want on your production staff, though.
Right, exactly. You need one of those guys, one of those mad genius guys.
For sure.
So we've got our crazy moment. They're gonna escape the house, and of course, old dude pops up and he fucking kills 13 reasons. As someone said, either he gives him a 14th reason, takes him out.
Damn.
I don't know who said it in the chat. I want to give you credit, but it was clever.
Shout out whoever that is.
So then we get like, I think it's another like 20 minutes of the movie. This is another like really good one-liner from Jane Levy where she gets out of the house and she just fucking runs. She's running in slow motion. It's just a look on her face. She's selling it. She gets like, 100 yards away. She turns around. Old man's at the door. And she says something along the lines of, bitch, you can't do shit now. Nana boo-boo. Stick your head in doo-doo. You can't do nothing out here. And then the Rottweiler comes out. And that's another moment where you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Like this, it's filled with those moments. And then we get this whole bit that we don't have to really get into, but it was a well-directed, cool scene with the dog. And she gets away from the dog. Oh boy, comes up again and he gets her, drags her back, which takes us back to the beginning of the movie, which every time I've watched this movie, I've forgotten about the beginning of the movie. It gets me every time. Really enjoyed the visual of that. Supposedly that was done in 3 takes, where it was just a long day of dude dragging her down the road, like in Detroit. But so basically what I'm getting to, he takes her back to the house. I can't even remember exactly what the fuck happens. She gets away. I felt like the end of the movie.
Oh, she sets off the alarm. And the alarm drives him nuts. I guess he has some sort of PTSD with sound or
right. Well, I think it's just like it's like a Michael Myers situation at the end of Halloween 2. They blind Michael and then they're turning on the cans. So he's just swiping around because he can't hear where she's at and shit. But long story short, she leaves. She gets the money. He doesn't tell the cops about the robbery. He hides the bodies. She gets away with the money. Nobody's going to jail. And they're setting up a sequel, more or less. I kind of felt like for as short as this movie was, like at the end, I was like, I don't know. I didn't need the extra bit at the end. Even though it's like, fuck, we can't send the movie now. It's like an hour and 10 minutes. But I don't know. It didn't really, for me, personally, it didn't add anything. Do you guys feel differently or what? Where are you at on it, Phable? Just the end.
I got to agree with you. I would have been happy for her just running out the house and cut over for done. We didn't have to have the car with the dog and, you know what I mean? The dog kind of being of a supernatural nature. But you know what? I still like it. Mm-hmm. Even though me personally, I would have cut it off at that point. Doesn't mean I don't like what they did the following sequence, because Fede even though he's trying to make something a little more grounded, a little more believable, not supernatural, like you said, we gotta get the fans something. There's a fan out there that wants to see that. You know what I mean? And when he goes there, like what he did with the semen in the basement, same thing. He's going there for you. You know what I mean? And I think he pulls it off. I think he gives it a good, a good turn. You know what I mean? He didn't fail.
Right. No, you said it fucking perfectly. I like what he did. I just don't think they needed to do it. But what they did well, and it was was cool. But yeah, you nailed it. What about you, Steph?
I agree with you guys. Like, they could have probably ended the movie with just a cut of her getting away. But it's like, I guess they kind of had hit two birds with one stone type of deal, where it's like they gave us the kind of the closure I think some of the audience might need after a situation like that, because we saw that the girl wasn't a complete piece of shit. Like, she was doing this shit to she could have found better ways, but she was doing this to better her life for her and her daughter, like it was a means to an end. So we got that closure, but then it's like not everything is redeemed, because we see the old dude survived and he pinned it on her friends. So it's like he's still out there. He didn't get off scot-free. He's not gone. He could still commit more heinous acts. So it's like could have probably done it differently, but I think it was fitting because it's like he gave you a bad ending and a good ending at the same time. I think he
did the classic thing. He did the classic thing. Got to set up for that sequel, baby. Come on, man. You never know.
What about you, Stu? Where do you lie, brother?
I think I agree with like you and Phable. I think like it was like we really didn't need it. We had already established that he won more or less. That he was still going to be alive some kind of way. I think even if they just left him. Even if they took it to like where like she didn't see it on the news that he was still alive, I still feel like they could have brought him back in a sequel. But dude, gotta shout out the dog. I just want to say the dog moving through the AC vents was one of my favorite scenes.
Yes.
And we didn't really have a chance to talk about that one, but dude, I love that scene. I thought that was such a great like, are you fucking kidding me type scenes. Like, and to really bring him to kind of like. Another good job of like moving a character where you kind of forgot about him and then bringing him back as like almost a Cujo like entity at times.
Right.
It was really cool. But yeah, I thought, dude, a great ending either way. Like I said, even though it didn't, like you said, even though it didn't seem necessary, what they did do was very well.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree, man. I agree with what I said or what Phable said. All right, so let's go ahead and rate this bad boy. We've ended the movie. Let's actually what I want to start doing at every point in the episodes is, did you guys, and Stu, you already fucking led into it. Do you guys have anything that we missed that you wanted to highlight before we get into the ratings? Anybody speak now or forever hold your peace? Phable, what you got, brother?
I really appreciated the scenes where the characters are trying to sneak down the hallway, and then here he comes barreling down the hallway, and you got to be like 2 seconds to like go somewhere before he touches you. Because as soon as he touches you, he's aiming that gun and he's firing.
Right.
He's that precise. You know what I mean? He's a soldier, like you said. So I appreciated how scary that was. Again, normal stuff. If you know what you're doing, make it look like terrifying.
Right. Which I think is like it's like the best way to get fear. It's just like, I don't know. It's such a cinematic way to get fear where it's like, oh, I see that all the time. But anybody else have any moments they want to stick out? What you got, Lynk?
Moments to stick? No, I got to chime in with Phable. Like that. Just so I've been saying it all night. There's a tenseness there. Like when 13 Reasons Why first comes back into the house at the semi at the beginning of the movie, and it's like he's walking down the hall and. Here comes Stephen Lang around the damn corner, just zipping down there, and he falls in the bathroom. Stephen Lang's coming in the bathroom. He's got to like duck underneath the sink real quick and like curl into a ball. So it's just a lot of great, great. That movie is littered with moments like that, So it's the whole thing, that whole tenseness.
Oh yeah, man! It's got me wanting to see more Fede Álvarez movies. I meant to mention it at the beginning. He's doing an Alien movie in 2024, an untitled Alien franchise movie. he did a movie in 2018, something about a girl and a spider or something like that. It's got like a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes. I looked at the preview; it looked like a horror film, but it had like a foreign vibe. So I don't know if he maybe did it out of the country or something. But he's definitely a director that I want to see more of, and I'm surprised he hasn't done that much. Evil Dead 2013. Guess when that happened? It was 2013, and he did this in 2016. There hasn't been a whole lot. Yeah, he's done he hasn't had from what I know, he hasn't had a successful movie since this one.
Yeah,
but clearly he's done enough in the industry that he got an Alien movie. So I'm really excited.
Absolutely.
I mean,
for
props to the producer or executive producer bringing him in for that one. I mean, if you see this movie, you could totally see this translate into Alien.
See Alien.
Oh,
yeah, bro.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Replace the blind man with a xenomorph.
Yeah.
It's the same flick. It's the same thing. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. For those of you in the chat, if it's your first time being here, we do a grading scale here on Blood Splatter Chatter. Stu, I'm gonna have you lead us off on the grade, brother. What do you have? What is your grade for the first show here of HorrorFest? And as Robbie was saying on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre show, it's HorrorFest. If you want to bump your grade up a little bit, feel free, but you don't have to. It's an option. But where you at on Don't Breathe, brother?
I mean, I give this one a HorrorFest or no HorrorFest. I think it's just a solid movie, man. Going into it, not having seen it, I asked people's opinions at work and a couple of my friends what they thought about it, and everybody had positive things to say. Not so much for the sequel, but for this one, nobody said it was a solid flick. And Stephen Lang, I was already excited to see it, and I think it was just a great movie. It lived up to its title. Imagine going into a stranger's house and not being able to make a sound or breathe, or that means dire consequences for you. And the way they progressively kept twists and turns in store for us throughout the movie, I really appreciated. I thought they did a good enough job protecting those. And yeah, man, all in all, it had everything. It had surprises. It sat on this like cool line between like thriller and horror flick. I felt like, but I would definitely classify it as a horror movie. But yeah, I love this, man. Definitely give it a solid A.
Hell yeah, man! No, I'm stoked, dude. I'm very excited that you were able to watch it for the first time and enjoy it that much, brother.
Absolutely.
What about you, Link? Where you at on it?
Since it's HorrorFest, and we'll bump them up, I'll give it a solid B+. Just because the premise alone is a little far-fetched. Like, in reality, no blind person is doing this to any able-bodied person. But because of the conditions they set up throughout the movie, and it seems so palpable and real, like the reality the world they have established in the movie, it works. So, like I said, the premise is a little far-fetched, but they pull it off well. So, I gotta applaud something like that. And for it to be so tense, as we'll keep saying, it's hard to execute that. It really is. It's not as easy. I think this movie has that in spades. So, like you said, look forward to seeing a lot more of Fede Álvarez. I'm kind of shocked he hasn't did more, to be honest, as you said, but definitely he's one to look out for. Solid B+.
That's a great score. Look, what you're saying is like there's sometimes like I'll see a movie like this and I get why you keep saying how tense it is, because it'll make me realize how they're not able to create this amount of tension in other movies. So many other movies.
So many other ones.
They're clearly going for this level of tension and they can't create it. And then you see this, you're like, oh God, like why don't the other movies make me feel like this? Not that they, some do clearly, but yeah, this is this is a upper echelon suspense flick for sure.
Yes.
Hell yeah. What about you? We got an A from Stu, a B+ from Steph. Where you at, Phable?
I'm gonna go A as well.
Hell yeah.
Horror movies to me have to have me tense. Like Link says, that's that give me a little anxiety. You know what I mean? We just saw The Descent not too long ago. same business with that. Had a lot of anxiety. Had a lot of butt puckering, as we established tonight. That's the new bit. We got the butt puckering. I was butt puckered through this whole thing, bro. So
I can't wait to see those shorts. Cannot wait to see them.
I wasn't sure if you were talking about the shorts I'm gonna clip or Phable shorts with his butt puckering. I'm like, where the fuck are you going with this, dude?
All the above. All the above.
Yeah, there we go.
But no. It definitely creates something that, and we, hey, we've watched a lot of horror movies the last 2 or 3 years, man. We could definitely attest to the tension and the difference in tension. And, I understand that that's not everything for everybody. Like some people love the gore, some people love the blood and the guts, and that's their lane of horror. But for me, this is the natural evolution of what Halloween set out to do. What, you know what I mean? The original Nightmare on Elm Street set out to do. This is just like next level, and major props for not having no kind of like just ridiculousness, like you said, ghosts or whatever. It's just all normal stuff, and you just make it scary as hell, man.
Yeah.
Hey.
That would have been a weird twist if you go down and he's got a ghost tied up in the basement. You'd be like, "Whoa, I never saw that coming." No, that wouldn't have worked as well. I'm gonna give it an A-, just because, and this is something I didn't really touch on, and I guess we can reverse all the way back, and I can kind of have your guys' opinion like quickly. Did you guys think that the beginning was a little slow? Because the way I'm looking at it, the setup of it until it pops off and they enter the house, and then it's fucking super tense, and I'm way into it. The first 15 minutes or so, and this is criticisms I've heard about Evil Dead from Fede Álvarez, it's a little slow. He's taking his time setting it up, and I appreciate that. It doesn't bother me, but it's not very engaging. I think it could have been a more engaging, slow start to the movie, and I would have enjoyed it a little bit better. And then just what we said about the end, feeling like it was unnecessary. Those are my only beefs with the movie. Characters, suspense, visuals, camera movement, sound quality, editing. It's a beautiful film, and it's a nice, tight hour-and-a-half package to put it in. You thought I was going somewhere with a pucker and butt, but I'm steering clear of that for a minute. We got to take a few.
Oh yeah. You bump it up because it's HORRORFEST, but also bump it up for that sweet hour and 30-minute runtime.
Yeah.
We're big fans of that out here. We love that stuff.
Talking about bad fans like that. Yeah, that was the perfect time right there.
Oh, it's what sells the fucking movie, dude. But A-, man. I think, I could totally see giving it higher, but I'm gonna go with an A- for now, because I'm thinking about Drag Me to Hell. For some reason, even though it's so different, it's such a different movie, but in so many ways it's so similar. Like I said, the same thing about the quality of the writing. There's nothing here that's like tricky. It's like you know exactly why they're doing everything when they do it, and not that that's a bad thing. I think a movie like this, that's what you should do. Don't try to be overly clever. But I think for me, like with a movie like this, for me isn't going to get an A+ ever. You know what I mean? It might get an A, but it's never going to get. You got to hit me on like an Exorcist, like an emotional or a mental, like make me think or make me really fucking feel, one way or the other to.
Right.
For a movie like this to fucking reach that level, you know what I mean? But hey, I'm giving A-. It's fucking we're all right there. But so where am I? A- for me. Phable gave it an A, Stu gave it an A, and a B+ from Steph in the chat. Oh, I should have stayed there while they were grading. Sale gave it a B+, a butt puckered B+. Actually, I'm gonna go up at the top and scroll down. That's gonna be a little bit easier. Two Gun, my man. Appreciate you being here, Two Gun. I love you, brother.
Oh yeah, Two Gun, love you, brother.
Dropping an A. I'm glad you enjoyed the flick, my friend. Chill out, man. I don't know you, chill out, man, but you've been saying funny shit in the chat. I feel like I know you, and I like you, and we'll be here next week. Larry Moore.
Thanks for coming through.
Give it an A too, man. Larry Moore dishing out A's. Anybody else grade this bad boy? Obama gave it a D. Fuck you, President Obama. Get out of here. Guy always showed up trolling. Six Deuce gave us
Obama.
A-.
You know who that is, Obama. You know who's Obama.
Chill out. Did you grade it twice?
My man is pulling double duty on 2 shows right now.
All right. So I appreciate everybody that's been in the chat. Phable, Steph, Stu, you guys on the panel. You guys are fucking awesome. I could not appreciate you fellas more. I do want to, if we can real quick. It's HorrorFest 2023. Rockin' Robbie Billups has been kind enough to let me, Blood Splatter Chatter, join the HorrorFest with him and Dylan's Horror Show. So very stoked to be doing that. And let's run through the lineup real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and blast through this thing. This is what we have coming up. If you're into spooky movies, and if you're here at the end of this conversation, you clearly are, and you want a badass lineup, a bunch of movies to watch during Halloween season, we have got it set up for you. So as I said, Dylan, he done kicked things off with Maniac on Thursday night. Robbie with myself and the crew over there, we did the entire Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise over on Pop Culture Philosophers. And then here we just did Don't Breathe. Coming up on on Dylan's show, we've got The Howling. Robbie's doing Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter. This dude supposedly smokes weed and has sex with chicks and could possibly be the inspiration for Blade. That's what I've heard. Next week, Robbie's going to be here for Sisters. This is a De Palma film. I know Steph's going to be here, and we might figure some other shit out down the road. But this is Brian De Palma's one of his first films. Nobody that I have talked to has ever fucking heard or seen this film, but we're doing it for HorrorFest.
I love the Palma. So great.
I'm so curious to see what everyone's going to think of this next week.
Are those conjoined? Are they conjoined?
Spoiler alert. They are. And this is Lois Lane. This is Margot Kidder from Superman. Yeah. She's fucking great in the movie, dude. It's so cool. Dylan's doing the new Prey movie. Check that out. Robbie's doing Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Right here with this crew 2 weeks from now, we're going to be doing The Blob on Blood Splatter Chatter. Yeah. Dylan is doing fucking Stephen King's Cujo. I will be there for this one. I think Fable's going to be there on Pop Culture Philosophers for Sleepaway Camp. So stoked for that. Well. You will too? Oh, I'm fucking hell yeah. That's going to be badass.
Let's go.
We're taking over Robbie's channel that night. We're doing The Bride of Chucky. Robbie's going to be here for this one, and Perry. This is going to be the scariest movie. I've said this a bunch of times. I stand by it. This is the scariest movie of HorrorFest. Sinister on Dylan's Horror Show. I'll be here with this one. I think Fable's going to be there on Pop Culture Philosophers for David Cronenberg's The Brood. And then we're going to have Nick joining us and Steph for A Quiet Place here on Blood Splatter Chatter.
Oh, yeah.
Wishmaster over on DHS. This was the voted on one that Robbie's doing. This is going to be Tales from the Motherfucking Hood. Nice. This is one of my favorite movies. Just so you guys know, I am the one that offered this one up, and it got voted in, but I will not be on the show. Over here, we're going to be doing... You will?
Yeah, that's cool, I think.
You son of a bitch. We're going to be doing Deadstream over here on Blood Splatter Chatter. This is a pretty cool Shudder original fuck is the word? Found footage film. I wanted to get one found footage film in for HorrorFest, and this is a new one that got a lot of hype when it came out, a few years ago. Dylan is going to be doing the David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy. Robbie's going to be doing Dario Argento's Opera.
There we go.
And then right here on Blood Splatter Chatter, we're doing Friday the motherfucking 13th. So excited about that. The next night, Dylan is going to be doing Friday the 13th, part 2. On Dylan's Horror Show. Robbie is doing Jew on the Grudge. This is the foreign version, which I have never seen.
That's the scariest movie
that is
in HorrorFest.
I believe it.
Baby.
It was until David Gordon Green's The Exorcist. Yeah. I hope this is good. We just got news today that this is releasing a week earlier than planned. Thank God it's not releasing a week later than planned, or else I would be in a lot of trouble for HorrorFest. But yeah, we're going to be covering this. It's going to be a new movie we'll be talking about here on Blood Splatter Chatter. Dylan's doing Night of the Demons, classic 80s horror. Speaking of classics, Dawn of the Dead. This is the Dario Argento cut of Dawn of the Dead that Robbie's going to be talking about. And we did this last year for Dylan's Horror Show, but I've got two buddies that have never seen this movie that I was looking for something to show them. And I was like, oh, this is a good one. If you guys have seen this movie, you know that this is a really fun movie to show people that have not seen it. And then this is the DHS finale, Halloween 3.
Good one.
Robbie's fucking crazy, dude. He's doing these 2 franchise reviews, and then he does this every year. At the last week of HorrorFest, he does 2 shows back to back. It's like, bro, can you not get enough? He's doing Dracula, and then the next night he's doing the entire Saw franchise. Holy shit! Now Robbie is gonna call this the end, the finale of HorrorFest, but it's not, because we're really ending it on Halloween night right here, doing Rob Zombie's very controversial, very divisive film, Halloween, from 2007. And that is it, my friends. That is it.
Trick or treat.
That is your HorrorFest. Stoked. So
That's awesome.
I'm very stoked. Make sure you guys are subbed up to Pop Culture Philosophers. Make sure you're subbed up to Dylan's Horror Show, and look in the description below, and make sure you're following all these gentlemen's socials down below. Mr. Phable, you're one of those people down below. What do you have coming up in the world, my friend?
We got Blame Phable and his amazing friends with Nick Comic Culture coming back this Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And we've got none other than the Nerd Show coming with us. So it's going to be freaking amazing, guys. Tune in. We always have a good time, man. And these are the last shows before we make our grand move, exodus from IG to YouTube, man.
Hell yeah.
You guys here, man. So, yeah. Come hang out with us for the last shows, because we're gonna bug out on those last shows. We're just gonna have fun. We're just gonna let it all hang out. You know, we're out. We're going. See you later, IG.
I've said it before. Blame Phable and his amazing friends. It's my favorite thing that is on Instagram. And once Phable leaves, it is now supreme motherfucking clientele. Stu and Link talking comics, talking hip hops.
Yeah.
So, Stu, Steph, why don't you tell the fine folks what you guys are doing over on Instagram?
Well, dude, we are on Instagram Wednesdays at 9 p.m. But I gotta confess, I want to follow suit with Phable and get the hell off of that sorry ass platform that they give me for my live shows, bro. They be giving my boy Lynk lag. They cut off my mic last night.
Hey, can I just say, I'm watching the show last night. I'm very engaged. We're having fun in the chat, talking with the fellas, and it kept freezing. And I was like, at one point, I'm like, oh, you guys are doing the bit. And then I realized you weren't doing the bit. It was like me doing the bit. But Instagram was making everybody do the bit. For those that don't know what the bit is, it's people being froze on the screen. So it just sucks, because you guys are putting on a good show. But do that. Get the fuck off Instagram. Come over to YouTube.
No, we got to send them a message, because, I don't hate the platform at all. That platform has given me a lot. So when I make fun of it, then don't get it twisted. I don't hate IG at all. I love IG. I'm very disappointed in it.
Right.
Very upset with the way they're treating its content creators.
Like
where they're forcing us to go where we don't want to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they don't want to give us any reason to stay there. Like they killed the Reels program that they had going on. Like, they're continually cutting back on, like, I feel like putting money in people's pockets who have a big enough following to earn ad money, or I don't know. So it feels like in so many ways, like with the comic book community, it's great, and it's our lifeline. But I feel like when it comes to those live shows, man, it's not even close as compared to, like, because Link's connection tonight, you see the difference, and
it's the same thing. The same internet, they got the same stuff. Yeah. Look how much better it is.
It's like they never knew that that's the direction people were going to go for on their platform. It's like they're like, oh, we'll give them a live feature. They'll use it for a few minutes. They didn't realize it was going to be like a thing.
They're emulating Snapchat and TikTok and trying to steal features. And then when their users try to use the features, it's like, oh, you guys are actually using this stuff? Wait a minute. We didn't build this for this. Holy smoke. What do we do?
Hell yeah, man. All right, well, perfect, man. Again, Wednesday night, 8:00 Central, 9 Eastern.
9, every 9. We're still gonna rock out. We still like we were talking about it today. We still love having conversations with each other. We still want to continue having conversations with each other. So, as you know, we're still gonna do it on Instagram. So long as they let us. So long as it's a good enough experience for the people that are trying to enjoy the show. So yeah, every Wednesday at 9:00. Come hang with me and Link, what we read that week, hip hop, all that good stuff.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. It's a fun show, man. If you're into comics, if you're into hip hop, make sure you're checking it out. Again, everybody in the chat, I love you. I appreciate you. You guys are some of the finest human beings that I've ever met. And we're going to see you next time.